All right, hello, hello. This is Ross Fertel, faithful reader on the forums, and I'm here with one Kris Sonsteby. Kris, how are you?
I am good. I think
Good.
most people know me as Lore on the forums, the former
Right,
director of organized play, and now just a local TD and a tournament player.
cool. So speaking of tournaments you played, you were recently in the 20 online Masters of the Universe tournament,
Yeah.
and your deck is on screen right now. So normally my first question would be, what is your experience with this type of deck, but I've taken a look at your decks, and you've got a pretty good amount of them that you're to say your old hat at Vidians is fairly accurate at this point, right?
Yeah, this they obviously they released some players cards. A lot of people don't know this, but I was kind of solicited feedback. I wasn't actually truly play testing. I remember some of the designers just sent me the file and said, what do you think of these cards? And I came back to them with some feedback and then forgot about it. This was, months before it came out. Um, I remember them always being kind of like this background faction back in the Decipher days. They were just kind of there. No one ever played them except one local guy here. Asita used to play them a lot. He thought they were cool. And obviously in the CC era, they have not been popular at all. So when they actually released the cards and I started tinkering with decks and I was talking to Kevin Yeager, who was also played in Masters. We both were kind of like, there's some interesting ideas here. You really, the term I've come up with is you're a leech. You're really just latching onto whatever your opponent does, and you're going as fast or as slow as they are. And that's really interesting to me because it creates a deck that's kind of plays itself. I mean, you'll see you've said you looked at my deck list. They're not very big. I always play like 50 and under. And my decks you could hand to a noob and they would probably play it okay. I've always played decks, especially in first edition, that are more decision based in game. I want the draw deck to be automatic, and then there's just a lot of turn by turn decisions that you make, whether you're attempting, fighting, whatever. And yeah, so I guess that's a long-winded answer, but I've been playing them on and off a couple times at the local level, a couple times online, just to try to figure out if they worked, how do they work. And yeah, so this was just the latest iteration.
Yeah, because I see you've had versions both pre-life signs and post-life signs. The draw deck at least has been like 54 to 44. This is a little on the leaner side. And one of the things I wanted to bring up is with the leeching aspect, you could probably make a case for sometimes wanting to go second with them.
Oh, absolutely. No, this deck in specifically this deck, it's funny, well, I don't want to spoil too much, but I ended up going first against Kevin and I didn't want to. It was a weird situation.
Yeah,
This one in specifically, this exact deck wants to go second because my hand will be really full by their turn. Hopefully, you've picked up two or three draws because everybody's trying to set up their gimmick, whatever that is. They're trying to set up their duck blind, their mining, their whatever, and they're usually defend homeworlding for somebody. I mean, there's always going to be draws coming from the opponent on their first turn.
yeah. So what matchups were you really looking forward to? Like what deck can this just steamroll past?
This will obliterate any deck without enough females. I mean,
Okay.
it's not even close. Like, I played probably the one of the hardest sets of opponents that we'll get into, but there were a couple players, Flo and Jared, who were also in this event, who were playing motion picture Klingons, and I mean, their decks have like four females in them, or five, maybe six. It's definitely not very many, and that. Or the other thing is it's the Vidian mirror match. If you're playing against another Vidian player, they don't have any chance either because you've got like four, five women. Like they're not gonna have any either. I know because I faced some female drain in Masters this round.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've been talking a lot about the Vidian stuff, but you also have this objective called Let Me Help, which really helps with the gender dilemmas that you've got there.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people. have said in the past that that specific set, that was the cage, I think, has tons of really powerful cards, and I know that we've errated a bunch of them. This is one that still exists the way it was written, and it gives a player a strong option to use gender dilemmas because it still works on board. Yeah, it's not as great, but for me, with Vidians needing your opponent's personnel to come to you, kind of to an extent, it's just an obvious setup where, okay, your females are going to get sent to the farthest end of the space line, and then I can just, fly over and stab them for organ theft points, which is how I round the corner in this specific deck.
Yeah, I took a look. You only have two actual Delta Quadrant missions in this deck.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
and with Offcell base, you're just going for the two mission win and then, well, whatever you can do to make up those other points.
Yeah, it's usually two. The math works with it's either of the Delta Quadrant space missions gets you 35. Then you go through, you get any of the planet missions and two harvests, and it's 100 with the vase.
Yeah,
Pending point drain, obviously.
right. Um, so speaking of women, I noticed that you've got two of the Lieutenant Torres versus one of the Daughter of Moral. Wondering if you could talk a little more about that.
She's just, again, you don't have enough females, number one.
Yeah,
And Torres has four mission skills. I don't know if you noticed the universal guys too. Thaden to me is the best Vidian personnel, period. And when I started working on this deck, uh, I was like, how do I make my missions kind of focus on him so I can use a lot of copies of him? He's got, yeah, I see you're still scrolling. He's got what, Astro Eng Nav. He reports for free. There he is. He
yeah,
reports for free as a med guy, and then Astro Eng Nav trans. He by himself will beat the opponent's copy of the Cloud because he has all those skills. And um, my mission set, I spent a lot of time, I'll be honest, working on the mission set for this deck. They do not have a lot of mission cohesiveness. The Vidians don't. Um, and we'll get to that, but like my missions are all crew or any crew or any affiliation. They're not Vidian missions. They're missions that anybody can do that Thaden happens to really help with. So the Daughter of Morale, you look at her, she's got almost the same skills as he does. What she got, Engine, Astro, and so I just was like, I don't want to have six copies of Thaden when I can use somebody who's got another female and use two copies of her, and she's got almost the same skills. Computer skills is only different.
yeah. Because I noticed that you're in your draw deck at least you're using a lot of the decipher cards and just a handful of the, well, at least the personnel from Life Signs,
Yeah,
which can,
I mean, I think the only personnel that's come out, there's two that I'm not using, Chakotay and Kess. Kess I can't use because I don't have an AU door. I mean, it's funny because she was in here in a lot of iterations. I mean, I'm not a smart guy. I went like five iterations of having her in there. I was like, wait a minute, I can't play her. There's nowhere for her to play. So I threw her out, and then Chakotay, honestly, I think he sucks. He doesn't have leadership. If he had leadership, he would be in here. That's his number one thing. Like I needed leadership, and he doesn't have it.
yeah. And you talked about being able to leech off the opponent, but I see just to make sure that you didn't get completely hosed, you did throw in a red alert there.
Oh, that's this whole gimmick. This whole
Oh,
so we'll get to that. But you mentioned going second. I don't mind telling people this whole deck, if I go first, I'm gonna go get my ship. I'm gonna get three guys. I'm gonna get I guess it doesn't matter if I go first or second. I'll look at my hand. I pick out three personnel who I do not have in play. Typically, Lozarius is one of them. Drenal is one of them, and then it's kind of like whoever. Uh, Lozarius is your scientist classification, which you don't have very many. Yeah, you need his skills for one of the Delta missions. Drenal is dip, which you don't have a ton of, and a command star to help fly the ship. And then the other guy is kind of just dependent on who's in my hand. I try to get somebody who's not in my hand. Usually it's Sethis. If I have him in my hand, I'll go get sometimes I've gotten Thaden, but usually it's Hofflin, it's or Malith. It doesn't matter. Like the third person's not relevant. But that's not your card play. And I've had this happen in a couple of different games where people are like, "Oh, that's your card." No, it's not. That
Hmm.
the text on that card says I cannot play people or ships. Cool. I Q sent for red alert whenever I can. And
Yeah.
now, um, so then my second turn, you're just shit out five people, and you get a free play, and now you have 10 people in playing this turn too.
And that isn't even taking into account how many personnel your opponents are playing.
Right, right.
Yeah. So yeah, anything else before we go round by round?
No, yeah, yeah, we can get into that too.
Yeah. Right. So the first round was against Neil, who was playing Borg.
Yeah, he was playing, I think, Stop First Contact Board, if memory
Okay.
serves. Um, and I remember early on, so we started out, I think he went first, so I went se I'm pretty sure I went second. Um, and my first two missions out were Preliminary Incursion and then Cytherian Lure. And right away he kind of groaned. He was like, "Oh," because it's five span. It sucks. No one likes that mission when it's in between what you're trying to do. Um, and because he was playing They Will Be Coming, he had to start on the far side from Earth. Well, that mission coming out meant he kind of just went in a line the other way, away from it, which I would probably do the same thing. But it took him like two or three turns to even get to Earth. And with Borg, he's just downloading like crazy. So he really loaded up my hand, gave me a bunch of free plays. Um, and he was playing point loss. So I think I attempted on my second turn and I hit like Edo Pro Beige, which I just went through it. I'm like, as soon as I see a Borg player, I just assume my two mission win is in the trash. That's not going to happen. Um, so then I hit mission debriefing, no surprise. On my like one of my very next turns, I Kevined the mission debriefing. That's just a utility card in my Q tent. So turn that off as he's trying to slowly chug down the space line. I think I'd cleared out both of my space missions because it was like Ito B Scow, I think for both. I think that was the combo under both. And as you pointed out, I don't have a planet mission in the Delta Quadrant, so there's nowhere for my females to go. So that whiffs, and then you just have to tow the scow. I mean, it took a while for me to get the scows out of the way. I ended up towing them, I think, down to the Barzan wormhole. Uh, so I solved both of those missions. I've lost points. I'm in the Alpha Quadrant. He's working his way through Earth and trying to kind of like redshirt it. And by that time, I Q stented for Disrupted Continuum. Um, you mentioned the MVP card. That's by far the best card in this deck. I don't know if your viewers know what that does, but you get to flip a dilemma that's being revealed into one out of your side deck, which is just super powerful. Um, so I watched him redshirt and then he adapted, and then the next turn it's right there. So when you reveal it, uh you may download and seed a replacement. I don't remember exactly what combo I had at Earth. It was probably one of the female drain ones, I think. Oh yeah, it was yeah, he hit it was like it was he was gonna bypass Ferengi Infestation, I think, or something like that. So I flipped it into God, which blows up his cube because he's down there with one guy. So now his cube blows up. Um, which yeah, he's got flagship recovered. It doesn't matter. Flagship recovered kicked him all the way to the other end of the space line, and now he's got to fly all the way back down to Earth, which bought me enough time to get through. I think in that game I solved Stranded Crew, the planet. I think that was the one that ended up doing because I didn't want to go to Cytherian Lure either. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I believe he solved Earth. He actually just assimilated Homeworld instead of doing the Stop First Contact because it was like the last turn of the game. So I think he got 40 points, but that was round one. Um, round two is weird. I played Matt Zeno,
Yeah.
and we were. Go ahead.
Matt Zeno actually has a tournament report, and in that he says that he specifically tried to starve you,
Yeah,
realized it wouldn't work, and then just went balls to the wall trying to get stuff out, by which point it was just too late.
yeah, that's actually a really good summary. So, I think I went second. Um, I'm fairly certain I got lucky in this game, and I drew a Q set my opening hand. because he wasn't going to give me anything. Matt and I have both. It's funny because Matt has played against this deck, and I've played against his deck, but these two decks have never played each other. This is going back over the summer.
Yeah.
Um,
So his deck was past Karak Nor, correct?
yep, yeah.
Okay.
When he seeded his missions, it was I kind of knew it was the deck I'd seen before because his missions are weird and they're kind of I mean like memorable. And he's got some mission in there that I don't think anybody uses. So I was like, oh, it's got to be that deck again. Um, Matt, Matt's been giving me fits. I got to give props to Matt. He's beaten me like 2 or 3 times in a row. One of the times was he, with that deck, he computer crashed my flagship recovered when I was playing Borg. So I knew he's got a computer crash in there, which changed up a little bit of how I went about this game against him. I knew that I could not possibly have the Vidian deck has the flagship recovered. I knew that wasn't going to work. So I think I seeded it as just a misseed somewhere because I was like, I know what deck he's playing. It's not going to do anything. But yeah, he tried to starve it and ended up really just hindering himself by like turn 3 or 4. I had 12 people in play because I got the red alert gimmick to fire, and he's got like 8, but his all his guys are doing stuff. He's got this guy's doing the processing ore, and this guy's probing at the promenade shops, and I mean, just none of them are doing anything with missions. So I got through the Delta Quadrant mission and was in the Alpha Quadrant kind of before he got going, and I think he realized at that point that that was just it was not going to work because now he doesn't have time. I think the way the game ended up is he went into the Gamma Quadrant smartly and got through a combo, like bricked through one of the gender drain combos that did not really work. And then when he came back into the Alpha Quadrant, I tried to claw him and he canceled that with his computer crash, but he ran into something that ultimately stopped him. I don't remember exactly, but it left somebody. He had somebody who, in the process, got thrown to the farthest planet, and I just stabbed them for the last points.
Yeah. Cool. And then round three was against Alexander Schmitz, who had Ferengi Conference, mainly D Space Nine, a few TNG thrown in there. But looking at Ferengi Conference, you've got to be wondering when you're playing, do I want to use all 11 skill dots?
Yeah,
Or do I just want to get a couple good guys out and hope for the best?
Alexander has played against my female drain dilemma set before. I don't know if it was this deck. Maybe it was with the TNG board deck I played over the summer. Um, and yeah, he was concerned. He actually had his own copy of Let Me Help, and he, I think, was also doing gender drain. I'm pretty sure. Uh, Alexander, I think people pay too attention to rating. Alexander's a good player, and I did not take this match for granted at all, especially when he knows what I'm doing pretty early on with the Let Me Help, and I think he had attempted once and saw a love scout or something, so he had an idea. Like his third or fourth copy of Spring and Conference, he went and got Lumba. And I know you don't have that up, but that's Quark as a female, right? I think
Right.
from that episode, it just nullifies female dilemmas. So I was like, oh shit, I didn't know this person existed, let alone that it was in his deck. And yeah, I ended up working through my space dilemmas again because I hit scows and don't have a Delta Quadrant planet. So I didn't lose any of my females, but when I went to the Alpha Quadrant, I got completely wrecked. He gave me a combo. I don't want to spill it in case he uses it again, but basically he got rid of all the girls I had in play, and then he required me to have like 2 or 3 more. And as we talked about, my Vidians don't have them. So yeah, I feel good because I'm down to the last dilemma for my win. But I had like one girl in play back in the Delta Quadrant. I had like I think I had maybe one in my hand, and I had not seen the last one. I only have 6, so I've lost 3. I need 3, and thankfully Torres is one of the ones that died, or I would have been completely boned. She died to the whatever it was, so I could replay her for the 6th one, or I would have never gotten through that combo. And Neil and I laugh, Neil Matthew and I talk about whenever he knows that whenever I don't know what to do in a game, I just start fighting. And that's exactly what I did against Alex because I was like digging for this last female. So I clawed his ship. I went and beat the shit out of his guys. I blew up a ship. I think I disrupted Continuum into Cytherians to put a bunch of other people on timeout. I mean, he got like five more turns than what I would have hoped. And I just had to keep fucking with him or I was not gonna win.
Yeah, so yeah, but when I look at your deck, I noticed that if it came down to it, you're ready to go to battle in personnel battle. You didn't have any of the tactics, so I don't think you were ready to go at it with space. But yeah, you had the Vidian Warding Claw ready to go. Just if it came down to it, you could just run over and start going after people with the Harvester.
Yeah, I don't believe that Vidians are fighters, and that's probably a product of where I play. I know that in other areas of the world, particularly in Europe, the people will fight with them, but I play where all of us are crazy and we do Kazon battle and we do Borg battle. I mean, Vidians are far from the biggest dog in the yard. I'm not going to go to war with them as I mean, shit, our local last month, James Heaney was playing Kazon battle. Like, if I had tried to battle him, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. I'm not going after your big ships or Jaeger's cube. It doesn't work. I don't believe that Vidians are fighters, so at least not from where I play. I will do it if I have to, which I had to in that game. But really, it's more like you said. I might claw you and I might run into your ship and try to beat up your guys. But no, I'm definitely not gonna take two ships and try to shoot you. It's a waste of time. In a two mission win deck, I'm trying to win in 6 turns. I'm not going to spend 2 turns fighting you if
Yeah.
I can avoid it.
All right. So going into the fourth round, I think you noted on the forums that Kevin Yeager had just gone through like three of the top players, and you and he were kind of neck and neck for the win. So you faced him in the last round. And then let me see here. He was playing Bajoran Fed Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I've played against that deck at a local here. It's stupid fast. This was pre-errata. The orb experience used to let you just kind of look indiscriminately at dilemmas. And now I think it's one per orb, but it's still the deck still is just insane fast. Kevin and I had worked together on our decks leading up to the tournament, right? We talk about it over email at work. Don't tell my boss. Um, and he's been playing more online, and I think the reason why I'm starting it this way is everybody assumes Kevin's going to come and blow you up and battle you, and there's a certain Kevin effect there where you look at the decks that people are playing in the tournaments where Kevin had pre-registered to play and they're coming to fight. Like Flo, who I don't think I'd never seen Flo play a battle deck. Flo in the last tournament was like playing KCA battle, and John was playing Vidian battle, and I think that there's a certain Kevin effect there where people assume he's going to come at you with something that's going to take you off the board. And a lot of people forget that he's the number one player in the world. He can do things differently. And he and I talked about, th in this specific event. So why don't you play the fastball? I knew he had this deck still built. His deck wins in 4 turns, and that's insane. I feel like, and it's not like it's a fluke. He's got it set up where and it's streamlined, and yeah, it does a lot of personnel download, does a ton of draws. So we knew if we had to play each other that was going to be just a clusterfuck because, like we talked about, I leech, right? And how I'll go as fast as you go. And I think that when it came down to us playing each other, neither of us really said it, but I think we both had a good idea that this game was going to go to time because we spent a ton of time in the seed phase. And Kevin's on record, and so am I. How you see dilemmas, where you see dilemmas, what he knew, for example, he knew that I was going to try to do reinitialize warp field, I think is the name of the space mission in this deck, um, and not my outpost mission. But that he knows that's my plan A, right? So then Kevin was like, "Well, you're not going to do plan A, you're going to do plan B." So I actually did. I fell right in the trap. I attempted the outpost mission, which I usually don't do, and that was the harder of the two combos. which is, again, that next level thinking. I I sold out to I'm not letting you solve that Gamma Quadrant mission worth 40 points. I'm not going to let you solve the Gamma Quadrant planet. I dead-ended that one. And I'm going to load up Bajor. And if you go a different direction and somehow get through whatever your other missions are, okay, But in doing that, I broke all of my combos. My dilemma combos didn't exist in this game. They were completely different. I in fact stole Alex's combo that he hit me with in round three because I have the same three dilemmas. I swapped them around, stuffed them under a mission, which then changed up everything else. It was just the whole domino effect. As usual, I dared Kevin to come into my kitchen. I lightly seeded the space mission near preliminary incursion. He did not go for that bait. He went the other direction. And he did get crunched pretty hard by Bajor. A lot of really, nuanced things in this game. He attempts on turn, like I went first. Like I don't want to go first. And I park the organ bank there at prelim incursion. I don't go into the GQ, which I usually do. I usually pull it back and try to attempt. I was trying to see what he was going to do. He did go for Bajor, and first Limb was Deadly Donation, and he attempted it with two guys, and a 50-50 shot at stopping Cisco, and I didn't stop him, right? Instead, Cisco now turns the orb in that he collects and runs away, goes back to the station. I still got an organ theft off of whatever minister or somebody or other, who cares? But it kicked him out of the attempt, so he couldn't even see the next dilemma, which was good for him. He didn't get wrecked even further. So just a lot of cat and mouse. Is he going to go here? Is there feints going there? I think he moved DS9 over to a space mission, characterized a neutrino, and then scanned it. And I had wisely put experienced bees there, which didn't tell them anything about it, right? It's like, okay, cool. You're going to have to redshirt it. Um, but yeah, it was a very, very slowly played game. And I think that you would expect that when you're in the final. You're trying to not make a mistake. You're trying to make sure you seed things in the right order, in the right place. And it's funny because it's two friends and we're just talking through everything. Like, you're going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and this. Because we both have played each other for 20 years. So um, it ended up being a case where I finally ground through that space mission. I think I'd moved into the Delta Quadrant, or moved from the Delta Quadrant into the Alpha Quadrant, ground through the dilemmas that I know my deck suck at. I hit uh, Misinterpret History. I hit, what's the other one? Rules of Obedience, and I think I hit Imminent. Those three were all at my outpost. Again, perfect seating. I suck at two out of those three. The Imminent is only easy because I have six universal idiots. Otherwise, it's not easy. The other two are almost impossible. So I got those. I've harvested a guy. I think I was on 45. What does the score say? Was it 45 or 55? I can't remember what the final.
Let me see here. But yeah, no, I think it was 55 to 55 true tie.
I know we tied. I just couldn't remember if it was 45 or 55.
55. Yeah.
Okay. So that means I harvested two guys and I solved one space mission. Okay. And Kevin, I know, got orb points. I think he got double points. I think he solved Bajor. Time expires. He's in the Gamma Quadrant. um, going for the win. And I disrupted Continuum for Whale Probe and just said, that's enough of that shit. You don't know. That's enough. Time out. Because that's like the, nuclear option. I generally would only feed that dilemma in a game like that, where time has expired, the game is over, or if I'm going to get one more turn. I mean, that dilemma just says you are not solving this mission right now, period. And I was fortunate that when I gave it to him, he was out of range, so he couldn't fly somewhere else.
Yeah. So if anyone hasn't checked out the thread yet, you will want to. There's a lot of discussion about that baller move. So it is well
Oh,
worth your time to take a look, because that came out clutch and helped seal the true tie.
well, I mean, you're talking it through. I guess I hadn't really thought about it too much, but that's three of my games where disrupted continuum into God, Whale Probe, and the Cytherians. I know I did it three times. I don't think I did it to Xeno, but
Yeah. So Well, of course, I'm going to ask about your most valuable card, but that's got to be disrupted
Oh yeah,
continuum.
yep, definitely. Not
And
even close.
I'd also ask if there were any changes you'd make to this deck, but it honestly doesn't seem like you would, except maybe throwing in another Monala or something.
Um, this is it's funny because you start a tournament and then as you're playing it, you see things that are working or not working. Some of the gender stuff it just doesn't work. Some of and some of it, the temporal causality loop for me is a card that I consider taking out because it didn't hit. People are brick attempting and they're gonna get through it. It's great when it connects. It's almost it feels like a win more card. Like I don't necessarily know if you need it. Um, Comically enough, I feel like in a couple of those spots, I would have rather just had a Cytherians in the back. Just go fuck yourself. You're gonna brick it. Go. Okay, bye. You're gonna end up flying over to me. I don't know. The gender stuff, honestly, the main reason it works is decks either have it or they don't. It's a deck building thing. You either bring it or you don't. If you don't have a lot of girls, you're in trouble. If you feel like Vidians are the top of the heap, you can dick punch them with this dilemma strat pretty easily because they don't have them, period. So yeah, I would recommend anybody who thinks that Vidians are winning a lot in their area, try this dilemma set. Look at mine, look at Alex's. Alex's deck, I think, has the same kind of stuff. Alexander's, should say. Um, but yeah, I mean, who knows? I like the idea because it's my play style. It's super funny how you look at the two decks. Kevin played this one, I play this one. Kevin's is like PhD level, like super thinking, all these moving parts, and mine's like elementary drawing with a crayon, 40 cards, lots of people, and just making the decisions in the game. But we play that way. We both have always played very, very differently. So the decks, I think, suit our play styles really well.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we end the recording?
No, thanks for
Cool.
having me.
No problem. Thank you for joining us. Always good to have a direct perspective, and it is just so different playing an online game because you have so much time between rounds that you don't have in real life. Like in real life, you've got maybe 10 minutes if you're lucky, but with the online, you're able to have that debriefing moment, take a breath, and like you've probably got a few days or so between
Hmm.
rounds.
Yeah, it's an interesting beast, and it's hard to stay in the same mental space, right? Like
Yeah.
Kevin, I knew that like we'd originally scheduled it for one night, and I told him like I got a doctor's appointment that morning. I don't think I'm going to be in the right headspace, and he totally understood because so like we ended up playing. I think the next day or the day after. Yeah, but then you're sitting there all week and you're like, oh, I didn't do this and I should have done that. And in my last game, well, you never do that. In a tournament, you play them all, bam, bam, bam. You're in that zone, local, I should say live tournament. And then online, it's just like you sit and you micromanage all your little mistakes that you did for a week before you play again. It's a very different environment.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So yeah, thank you very much for the interview. Thank you very much for listening. In the show notes down below, you should be seeing Chris's deck and the rest of the tournament, if not the lineup that Chris faced. So take a look at that. Thank you very much. And yeah, take care. Thanks for listening and have a good day.